Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Mr. Ty, and in today's video, I am going to be showing you how to put together the Cine Splore, as well as giving you my honest opinion about this frame. This frame was invented by Kabab FPV, and you can go ahead and pick this up at FPV Cycle. Link to this will be in the description below. Now, I am going to build this entire frame, tell you guys what my opinions are on it, as well as also tell you if there's any other frames on the market that I think you guys should be keeping your eyes out for. Make sure you check the description below because I will have a timestamp for this video if you want to skip around and see the parts you want to see. Now, that being said, let's just go ahead and get right into building this frame. As you can see, we have 4 arms, a top plate, bottom plate, and a plate that is going to act as a brace to hold the arms together to the bottom plate. This is also the plate that we're going to mount all of our electronics to. As you can see, we have more than plenty of hardware. They include absolutely everything you need to put this drone together and quite a few extras, including an extra standoff, as well as some extra mounting hardware. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take out these M3 press nuts, and we're going to go ahead and insert these into the frame. Make sure you have a bowl nearby so you can put all your parts inside it. Also, this frame does take multiple different size screws and nuts, so make sure you have a 2mm driver as well as a 1.5mm driver. The first thing we're going to do is insert the press nuts into this plate that all the electronics are going to mount to. It will take 4 of these press nuts, and they're going to go on the same side as the smaller press nuts that are already installed into this plate. I find the best way to install a press nut is to take a small screw, go ahead, stick it through the plate, and start to screw down the press nut onto that screw. Once it gets close to the carbon fiber plate, go ahead and line it up and tighten that screw the rest of the way down. This will suck that press nut into the plate, and once it's flush, go ahead and unscrew the bolt. Go ahead and do that for all 4 of these. Like so. After you do that, go ahead and take the top plate, take the other 2 press nuts you have, and we're going to insert it into these 2 holes right here and here. As you can see, there are countersunk spots on top of the plate right here, here, and here. That's because we're going to use countersunk screws to hold this down so it's flush when you put a battery on top of it. You can use this to line up these press nuts. What you need to do is make sure you're putting these press nuts on the opposite side from these countersunk holes. So right here and here. Go ahead and install both of those. The reason for these 2 press nuts is this is actually compatible with many GoPro Hero 8 and 7 mounts that already exist for multiple of Kabab's frames. The Cina mount, as well as a couple of the others, will actually fit right here if you want to mount it to the front 2 standoff holes and these back 2 press nuts. After you install all the press nuts, you're going to want to go ahead and take these longer 2mm head screws. You want 4 of these, and you want to take 3 of these shorter 1.5mm head screws. Again, you're going to want 4 of these, and you're going to want to go ahead and take those out of the package. I have them right here. Then you're going to want to go ahead and take your bottom plate, take 1 of the 2mm head screws, and stick it through this little slot right here. You're going to end up putting 4 of these in, 1 here, 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 and here. But after you go ahead and stick this one in, go ahead, grab 1 of your arms, and stick it right through the hole right there. Now, as you can see, there's a flat spot on the arm. This is designed to butt up directly against the other arm, so you're going to want to position it like so. Now, the tolerances on here are pretty tight, so you may have to actually screw the bolt all the way down. It might not just push through. Like so. Then you can go ahead and put the other 4 arms on, or you can go ahead and install the top plate. I prefer to go ahead and install the top plate because it kind of goes ahead and holds everything else in place. However, I did want to show you really quick how these 2 arms work. So when you put the other one on, you can see they kind of support each other right there in the center, which is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to design the arms. Now, when you put this plate on, you want to make sure that these points that stick out farther, as you can see, they're longer and there's 2 holes on this side and there's only 1 hole on this side. You want that sticking toward the back of the frame. The reason why is this is where a 30 by 30 or a full-size board can be installed. So I'm going to just go ahead and tighten this down the rest of the way. And I'm going to go until it's just barely snug, but not all the way tight. That way there's still a little bit of play. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to all 4 of the other arms. After I had gone through and inserted all 4 of those bolts, we can go ahead and see that these little holes are now lined up on all 4 arms. That is where this smaller bolt is actually going to go in, right here like so. However, make sure when you tighten these guys down, you don't crank down on them too tight, because you can shear it. As you can see on this frame I have right here, I sheared that one off. So once it gets snug with these little ones, I would say go ahead and stop tightening them, and then go ahead and crank these larger ones all the way down to make sure the frame doesn't come apart. Now that we got this put together, we can go ahead and install the standoffs. Go ahead and pull out 6 of these standoffs. I believe that these are 28mm standoffs. However, you can go ahead and buy 25mm standoffs and use those instead if you want to make the overall height of your drone a little bit shorter. And then go ahead and grab 6 of the shorter screws right here. Now, what you want to do is go ahead and take 2 of these standoffs and actually insert them into these holes right here in the center. Now, this is kind of a tight fit, so you might have to twist it back and forth slightly, but they will go in eventually. You might actually want to go ahead and screw one of these bolts all the way down flush, like so. And then you can apply a little bit more pressure when trying to insert the standoff into the frame right there. And as you can see, once you get it flush with that bottom plate, you should be good. Go ahead and unscrew the bolt and do the same to the other side. Then you can go ahead and take that same bolt, stick it in on the other side here, and tighten that standoff all the way down to the bottom plate. Like so. Then go ahead and take another one of those bolts, put it in that front hole right there. Then one right here. And then finally, these last 2 right here in the front. Like so. Alright, so now that we got the main part of the bottom put together, let's talk about how you're going to want to mount your electronics inside here. Also, let's talk about what this frame was designed for. Kabab designed this frame to work with the all-in-one Whoop boards, and that is what this back mounting pattern is for. It works perfectly with one of these boards, and all the hardware you need is actually right here. You have your longer standoffs right here. This board comes with some soft mount gummies, so it'll work perfectly with this metal hardware. And then we have some of these 2mm nuts to secure these in place. However, if you wanted to run 20x20s, you could put those in two spots. There are holes drilled in the back half here and in the front half. So you could separate your flight controller from your ESC if it's a two-piece system, or if you have like a Rush VTX, you can mount that in the front and then mount the Rush stack in the back. This frame gives a lot of options for 20x20 and for Whoop boards. However, 30x30s will not fit inside this frame. So if you thought you were going to run some full-size electronics in here, you cannot do that. Except for the camera. It comes with these two 3D printed camera mounts that are located right here in the packaging that can take anywhere from a full size to a micro camera. Now if you put them on in this orientation, you can fit a full size camera or the DJI system in here, no problem. However, if you put them on this way, you can run something like a Caddx Ratel or any of those size cameras. As you can see, right here, that would fit snugly right there, and if you flip these the other way, you could fit something larger like this, no problem. So it is really cool that this was included. Another thing to know about the electronics in this frame is it was designed to take a 20x20 mounting pattern and not the standard 15 or 16x16 that we see on full-size motors. Alright, so let's go ahead and install the top plate. Now as you can see, we have those countersunk holes in this top plate like I was talking about earlier, so we're going to want to grab 4 of these countersunk screws right here. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and take 2 of the longer 2mm head screws right here and use it for the front 2 standoffs. Like so. Now that's going to be it for the build guide for this frame. Now I have not got my ducts in the mail yet, however this will take the ducts for the Cloud 149, or you can use the Stan ducts that Kabab carries on his website. All the included hardware is right here. That's what all these guys right here are for. This is for your ducts. Now once you add the ducts to this thing will gain 35 to 50 more grams depending on which ducts you use. I will have in the description below a link to Kabab explaining how to insert the brass connecting points into the ducts themselves. That way you guys can go ahead and do that if you want to go ahead and mount those ducts. The all-up weight on this frame without the ducts is 54.54 grams. So this is definitely a pretty light frame when you consider it as a Cine. So let's go ahead and go over all the pros and cons of this frame. Let's start with all the cons first. One of the biggest cons is it does not take full-size components, so if you wanted to run 30x30s, this is not the frame for you. Another con is that though the frame is made out of a very good quality carbon fiber, it is extremely thin, and if you were planning on using this for more of a basher or a sturdy Cine that you were planning on crashing or really getting up close and personal with like drift cars or whatever, this might not be the frame because this is definitely more on the fragile side. However, since it is so lightweight, this definitely will get better flight times, should have better flight characteristics, and all in all, if you're not planning on crashing, the fact that it's so lightweight very well might be a bonus. The only other con that I see to this frame is it is a little more tedious than most frames I've put together. The fact that there's two different sizes of hardware means you have to carry two different sizes of tools. Now, normally we carry two different sizes anyways because the camera screws more oftentimes than not are a 1.5. However, it is definitely a slightly more bizarre move to have two different size hardware on the frame. Nevertheless, it's not that big of a con. The only other possible con I could say is this was definitely designed for the air unit, and therefore if you are planning on running analog, you might have to change up your design pattern a little bit. All the video equipment was definitely designed to be put more in the front, and I know most people prefer to put their VTXs in the back. However, if you're okay with putting most of your electronics up in the front here, this shouldn't be an issue. You just are going to have to reevaluate how you're going to mount all your electronics. With that being said, let's talk about the pros. It is extremely light and one of the lightest drones on the market for Cinewhoops, especially when you look at it with this size and this much sturdiness built into the frame. Even though that I did say this frame is extremely fragile, when you look at how well it's designed, it is getting away with a lot more than I think most frames can. These plates are extremely thin, and though in a big crash, I do think it has a high potential of breaking. This is definitely more sturdy than it looks. This whole design, by putting the standoff directly through this plate, definitely makes this whole structure here a lot more sturdy, and cuts down on parts because you don't need multiple parts to make this work. The fact that the arms are modular does make it extremely easy to change out an arm if you do happen to break an arm. It's only 2 screws holding in each arm, and then you just have to worry about taking off the duct. However, you may have a spare duct if you had a spare arm, and that might be a quicker swap if you did it that way. All in all, there's a lot of space in here, and definitely a lot of utility you can get out of this frame. If you are immediate to a beginner, this might not be the one you want for the durability factor. However, if you lean more to the professional side, or if you value performance over durability, this very well might be the best frame for you. Now that being said, guys, if you felt that this video was useful, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos just like this, go ahead and subscribe so you see those videos when they come out. I'm also taking apart an Insta360, and I'm working on an invisible drone mod for this frame right here, so go ahead and subscribe if you want to see that video in the future. With that being said, guys, like always, fly safe, and I'll see you in the next video.